Hey, good afternoon. My name is Todd Wheeles. I'm an attorney with the Morris Haynes law firm in Birmingham, Alabama. Been practicing law for 19, going on 20 years. Before that time, I was an Alabama State Trooper. Served in a Special Operations Platoon for a short time. Then went to the Alabama Bureau of Investigations, where I worked as an agent and polygraph examiner in the Major Crime Service in ABI. Fortunately, went back to law school and have been practicing law now, like I said, almost 20 years. So have a little bit of background with firearms, and that's how when I went to work for our law firm, we had the first drop fire case of a modern firearm that we looked at, and it wound up on my desk because of my familiarity and experience with firearms, and that was the Moroni case that we've talked about before in another video. So I'd like to transition today. We filed, and I say we, our law firm in conjunction with the Bailey Lasser firm out of Charleston, West Virginia, and other parts, we filed a class action back in 2014 against Taurus. And what we alleged in the class action complaint was that the guns would fire without the trigger being pulled. And I think we can all agree that a modern firearm, should not fire without the trigger being pulled. And the way it would happen is if you dropped a loaded firearm and the firearm hit the floor, hit a desktop, hit something, the parts in the gun would actually move and cause the gun to go bang. We also alleged that those firearms have what was called a false safety, where if the trigger was out of position at all, when the manual safety was engaged, the manual safety was defeated and did not work anymore. Even though the trigger looked like it was in the normal position, the manual safety was in the on position or the engaged position, you could pull the trigger and it would click. We litigated that class action case down in federal court in Miami, down in South Florida, and we reached a resolution. Taurus refused to call it a recall. They did not want to call it a recall. They said it was a repair and or replacement program. And as the plaintiff's lawyers, we really didn't care what they called it. We just wanted them to agree to replace these, what we alleged were defective guns. And there are almost 1 million guns. And I think we're going to put a list of those guns. I know we're going to put a list of those guns on the screen here, where you can make sure you don't have one of those firearms. Now, the remedies, so to start with, when we settled the case, Taurus agreed to, if you had a class gun and you did not want a replacement firearm, you could send your gun in and you would get a cash award of up to $200. That timed out, according to the agreement with the court. That cash benefit timed out. But we, as plaintiff's lawyers, we felt like, and representatives of gun owners, we felt like it was very important that even if today someone realizes, oh my gosh, I did not know that this Taurus Millennium Series, Millennium Pro gun, first generation, is defective. What can I do today in 2021? Well, what you can do is you can still send your gun in. Under the settlement agreement, you can send your gun in and get a new modern firearm. Now, they may not make your firearm anymore. They may not make the PT 145 or the 140 exactly like you had, but they'll replace your firearm with the closest model that's in production right now. A very important and very valuable term of that settlement is that we, from now on out, if you find out that you have one of these firearms and it's defective, you can send it in and get you a new one. Now, we argued and alleged that the gun should have a trigger safety on it. Now, when I say trigger safety, some people know what I'm talking about, other people's don't. There are several types of trigger safeties. The one that we alleged should have been installed on these Taurus pistols was a Glock style trigger safety, which is a tab that goes on the trigger, a component part of the trigger that prevents the trigger from moving to the rear if the gun is impacted or dropped or bumped in a sharp manner. Now, why do we need that? Well, if the trigger moves freely and the gun, if the gun is like this and the gun falls and strikes the top of this desk, the trigger wants to keep going. The trigger wants to move at the same rate that the gun was moving. Well, that's a problem if the trigger controls the firing mechanism and controls everything inside the gun that makes it go bang. I think we can all agree that a modern firearm shouldn't fire if you drop it. There should be safety mechanisms inside the gun that should prevent an unintended discharge from a drop or an impact. So many years ago, over 100 years ago, a safety device, the trigger safety, was invented and implemented to prevent drop fires. So we weren't saying that a new or novel safety should be installed on these guns. This trigger safety device had been around for over 100 years and worked. And that's when Gaston Glock built the Glocks. That's the reason that little tab safety is on the trigger, is to prevent drop fires. That is what that is for. People were confused and said, "Oh, that's some kind of extra safety device to keep." Well, yeah, it is a safety device. It is a safety device to keep those weapons, along with other device safeties that are inside the gun, keep those guns from firing when dropped or impacted. Again, this is Todd Wheeles with the Morris Haynes firm. I want to thank you guys for listening, paying attention. This is important stuff. We take handgun safety seriously. If you have any questions, you can go to our webpage, www.mhhlaw.net. We have a whole section related to firearm safety on there. You can go to our YouTube page, and like, share, and follow us on YouTube. And if you want to call me, I'd love to talk about any firearm safety issue that you're having. 205-324-4008. You can hit me up on email, twheeles@mhhlaw.net. Look forward to working with you guys and making firearms more safer and more enjoyable for our kids and grandkids. Thanks.